Hi, Brad. Thank you very much for joining us today. How are things in Mexico?
They're good. They're good. They're heating up, getting warmer down here now. Been here a couple weeks visiting the both operations, Parral and our Jalisco development project.
So let's talk about your various operations. GoGold has two flagship properties in Los Ricos South and Los Ricos North. And when in full production, GoGold will go from 2 million ounces a year to over 15 million ounces a year in silver equivalent. And I want to examine each deposit and how they will contribute to the growth of the company. And given that Los Ricos South is the most advanced, why don't we just start right here? You and your team completed a feasibility study on this. Why don't you take us through it and give us the highlights?
Yes, in Los Ricos South, it is the most advanced part of the development in the district. And Los Ricos South, for that, we have a front end engineering design. So really, we're shovel ready to go with a permit. 23.50 gold and $26 silver. It 358 million NPV and internal rate of return just under 30%. At current spot prices in Los Ricos South, and of course it's a very new study, so it has a sensitivity published in the report. But current gold and silver prices, it would be closer to about 650 million of NPV. Now, the first 5 years, it'll produce a little over 7 million ounces, and the average of the first 10 years will be about 6 million ounces of silver equivalent. Really important also is that the all-in sustaining cost is low at about $12 per silver equivalent ounce. So that's Los Ricos South, and then of course we have Los Ricos North as well, which is at an earlier stage study. It's at a PEA, and that study is a couple of years old. When we published at 1850 gold and about $23 silver, it was 418 or 413 million NPV. At current prices, it would be about 850, but I would say we deduct about 100 million off there for increase in costs, so about 750 million NPV. And for a district wide, around 1.4 to approximately 1.4 to 1.5 million NPV. Sorry, billion, 1.5 billion NPV.
And a big part of the GoGold story moving forward is receiving the permits for Los Ricos South. How's that progressing right now?
It's going well. We've been in the process for the last 2 years. And I'll tell you that I've been in Mexico now for 28 years, myself and team, building mines. Really, Los Ricos South will be mine number 5, and Los Ricos North, when we get to it, mine number 6. So in the past, a typical permitting process for us down here was 6 months. It's been 2 years. And I would say it's not so much that the technical process has changed. It's more that it was a bit of a political issue. In the last administration, they made some changes to the mining laws, and one of the changes is that they said there would be a prohibition on open pits, and really they just slowed down the whole permitting process because of that. Now, the same party won in the election last June, and the new president, Claudia Sheinbaum, took office at the 1st of October. And really, she has softened that approach. And, for example, I had a meeting, GoGold and 10 other companies with their Secretary of Economy's office and the Environmental Authority in November, and they laid out their plan. The new administration made it very clear that they will pass president's prohibition on open pits. They're demonstrating that they're very much more mine friendly, and she has stated, their administration has stated that they do understand that mining is very important to the Mexican economy. So back to wind permits. Our best estimate is the next 30 to 90 days. We should have a permit. It could come at any time now. The technical process is complete, and it's just a a final review and a signature on a permit, and that'll be the underground permit for Los Ricos South.
And once you receive the permits, then what? What are the next steps?
The next steps are we're ready to go. We'll start on some of the surface infrastructure. In fact, we're so certain we're going to get a permit that we've already started on some of it that we can do without a permit, and that's a power line. We're building a 36-kilometer power line from the Ayeska Dam, which is a hydro dam, to supply our power, and we have a contract with the national utility to build that power line for us, and they've reserved for us contractually 15 megawatts of power. So that's all the power that we need, and that would be built on existing right-of-ways as well. So a project that will take between 18 and 24 months to complete. So we've started that project in anticipation of that permit. The good thing is that we're currently have 135 million US dollars in the bank account. So no debt, very strong balance sheet. We're generating $4 to $5 million a quarter at our Parral operation of free cash flow. So that's paying for all of our G&A and funding some of the exploration and engineering work we're doing right now. So we can get going on this. We're shovel ready. We can get going. We have the capital in the bank. We don't have 227 million today, but we have 135 million equity portion, and we're well down the road in securing the debt portion to get up to that over 227 million of available capital to build the project.
And from a valuation point of view, let's just say if you receive your permits tomorrow, what would that mean to the valuation of GoGold?
Really, that's probably going to be one of the biggest catalysts that the company will have seen. There's definitely a discount on the Mexican national miners and the foreigners on projects because of kind of frustration. A lot of it. Some of that's come off here with the statements recently by the new administration. But we do believe that it's still a very large catalyst for the company. And with permit, there should be a real re-rating. And it will have taken a lot of the risk out. And especially for GoGold, it's really taken not all the risk. There's always risk. But I'm saying it's taken the permitting risk will be gone. Financing risk, I would say, is as close to zero as can get. We have a very strong balance sheet, and we have 8 term sheets that we're going through. So financing risk, the project is extremely low for us. The engineering study is a very advanced full feasibility with front-end engineering design. So really the permit is the last kind of holdout before I believe all the institutions that aren't in will be looking at GoGold once that permit's in hand.
So you touched on Parral a couple of times, and you've been self-funding from the tailings at Parral, which is a great strategy. But you said there's 4 years of life remaining there. What are you going to do with it once it's complete?
Yeah, there are some other potential tailing piles that we're looking at within trucking distance, and we do also have our Esmeralda tailings, which we have drilled, and we have a resource around those, which would represent another year and a half. So we think we can probably keep it going more than 4 years before we would reclaim the project. The project, and yes, you mentioned about helping us self-fund what we've been doing here. It's been great for that, and it's also been a real good project as far as social responsibility, as far as social license. It's really a environmental cleanup that has made the company money, has employed people in the community, and has cleaned up the environment. So the Environmental Authority in Mexico really is interested in that project. They like it. That's part of their their agenda is that they have 500 tailing sites in Mexico that they're looking for solutions on. So, that has really opened the door for GoGold as far as a relationship with this administration and the environmental authority. So this is new technology that really we've developed and perfected over the last 11 years. And when I say new technology, I mean, there's agglomerated heap leaches in the world, that's for sure. I think this is the first one I know of at this kind of scale where agglomerated heap leached old tailings for gold and silver. And, there was some bumps at the first of the road, in this project because we're the first, cutting edge, maybe was a little bit bleeding edge for a while. But we worked that all out, and the team there has become real experts at doing that. So there may be other opportunities for what we've developed there and to continue longer with that operation. And maybe it will apply to some other environmental cleanups of tailings in Mexico as well.
Yeah, an additional 500 mines could keep you busy for a few years.
Yeah, you could really make a business out of that. And, it's good. It's a good project as far as building on our social license and environmental ESG. It's great for that.
And I just want to summarize the production profile. So right now at Parral, that's 2 million ounces. And then when you start production at Los Ricos South, that's going to bring you up to 9 million. And then when you bring on Los Ricos North, that'll take you up to 15 million ounces of silver equivalent. Is that right?
Yeah, in that range. Now, we're also doing some really exciting exploration outside of our reserves and outside of our resources, actually, in Los Ricos South. And, there's a deeper horizon that the former operators, about 100 years ago, at the end of the time that they were there, they discovered this deeper horizon. And that was in 1927. In 1930, most of the foreign companies left because of political situation in Mexico at the time. But they had found that for us. So we've now turned our drills to exploring that second deeper horizon, which would be about 700 meters below surface. And also, there was a missing, faulted off section of the structure to the south of where we have our reserves. I mean, right to the south, within 100 meters, they lost the vein. And there on the north side of that fault, one of the holes that we drilled closest to the fault was about 21 meters of 2 kilos. And then south of that fault, they could not find, nor initially did we find, the missing piece of vein for about 500 meters. So recently, we've been drilling there as well. And we have drilled into that and found that missing piece of structure. And we are waiting for assay results. So we're encouraged by that as well. So the long and short, I think there will be a lot more exploration upside in Los Ricos South. And really, the whole district is, I think it will develop into a real camp because there's so many other targets to drill and explore in the Los Ricos district. And, we really didn't stop drilling because we weren't hitting. I mean, one of the last holes we drilled, and which is within our current reserves, was 55 meters at 2.7 kilos. I mean, we were just hitting some remarkable things. That being said, we entered the project 6 years ago. We have a large institutional support, about 50% institutional. Every 2-3 weeks, we're putting out press releases with kilos of silver in drill holes. After a while, people say, what does this all mean? Tell us what's the path to production? How's this going to pan out when you do all your economics around it? So we moved to that phase. And now I think it's going to be really, really exciting as we drill very near to the mine that we're building. Because, of course, you can imagine what kind of impact finding new resources and reserves next to an ore body where you're already going to spend that $227 million. of capital and how it would affect the NPV.
And when can we expect results from the assays?
I would think we'll have our first results out in a month to 6 weeks. As we put together, some discovery drill holes and some more holes around those to show that it's holding together.
So you have a lot going on. That's going to require a lot of capital. So why don't we talk about your balance sheet now? You just did a raise recently. Why don't you take us through that? How much did you raise? What was the demand like?
Well, the demand was really good. Um, we were offered money several times before that, but at lower prices, and we said no. But we saw an opportunity, and we were an opportunity not just to raise the capital, but to bring in some new shareholders. And we looked at it and said, well, there has been some re-rating in the stock with the commodity price increase and with the tone in Mexico being very good now. And we said, why don't we raise? We'll be able to get that 75 million. There's big demand for it. And we're bringing some real, good new shareholders. And they'll have exposure still to some of the catalysts going forward of that permit. And, our current shareholders, we thought strengthening the balance sheet did something else for us. What it did was give us the flexibility so that while we're building the mine in the south, we can continue with the north and we can do exploration. Sure, we could have went out and got all the additional capital in debt, but then we're going to be a little more covenant heavy, and it'd be much more restrictive on exploration and advancing the north while we're building the south. So that was the thought process in raising the money. The demand was very, very good. We filled the green shoe, so $86 million in total funds raised.
I want to ask you about M&A because we've seen some activity in the silver space recently with Core acquiring Silvercrest and First Majestic acquired Gatos Silver. Can you just speak to those valuations and what you think this might mean for GoGold at some point in the future?
Yeah, general, I think consensus on those two deals would be that the Silvercrest deals are around a 1.7 multiple to net asset value. And I believe Gatos was even a little bit higher at about two times net asset value. So, there's two ways we can increase the value of our company. One is by getting a better multiple to our net asset value. And, currently we're probably around a 0.4 consensus of our analysts. But, as we build, as we break ground, get the permit, that's going to be a real big catalyst. We should move up on that multiple to net asset value. And then as we get to first pour, another bump up, and then full commercial production, we should really win that kind of net asset value. Now, there's another way to increase value. Obviously, the other way is two other ways. One of them's out of our control, but it's helping us, and that's commodity price. And of course, your net asset value is increasing with the commodity price. The other is exploration potential. If we can increase net asset value by drilling more ounces, which I strongly feel there's a good opportunity there for us, especially around Los Ricos South, to add some more ounces near to real brownfield, near to what we're building. That will increase net asset value. So two factors. One, move it along the development path, get it built, make gold and silver. That's going to increase the multiple to net asset value. Second, commodity price, and find more ounces around what we're building. That's going to increase the net asset value and increase the multiple and increase the value. That's the way we raise the value of GoGold. And I think it's looking pretty bright, the road ahead of us to do that.
Well, Brad, that was a great overview of GoGold, and I want to thank you very much for spending time with us today and sharing the story. And as we wrap up, you've already gone through a lot of detail, but maybe you can just summarize for viewers on what they can expect in terms of news flow in the coming months from GoGold.
I think really the number one catalyst is that permit, and I think that's near term. That'll be a big catalyst. The next to that will be that we're breaking ground, and that'll come very soon after the permit, almost immediately. The next catalyst will be, depending when the permit comes, but will be that exploration that we're doing around Los Ricos South. I'm a geologist by education. I can tell you I'm very, very excited about what I'm seeing and very excited about the anticipation is building on what those assays will be like for myself and the team on those new drill holes that we're drilling.
Well, once again, Brad, thank you very much, and I look forward to seeing the results here in the coming months.
Great. Thank you.